Chapter 10, Equations, Formulas, and Inequalities. We will start by turning our page to page 2. Okay, in this problem we say R is decreased by 25 ohms and is equal to 37. So we want to write an equation and we'll solve for R. So we're going to add 25 to both sides. And we get R equals 37 plus 25. And we get our 62. And we'll put our units back in for the ohms. Problem number 2. So 2 times the difference of a certain voltage, E, and 12 is 216. 2 times the difference of a certain voltage, E, and 12. So we're taking the difference of E minus 12, and we're doing 2 of that, is 216. From here we want to solve for E, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. I get E minus 12 equals 216 divided by 2. I'm going to add 12. And so I get E equals 216 divided by 2 plus 12, and I evaluate that on my calculator. 216 divided by 2 plus 12, and I get 120. And it'll be volts for our units. Number 3. So we know that 40 is the square of the current in amps, I. So we got I squared times a resistance of 250 in our ohms. If we want to solve for I, we're going to divide both sides by 250. So we have 40 over 250 equals I squared. And we're going to square root both sides. And we get I equals the square root of 40 divided by 250. We could reduce that to square root of 4 over 25, which would equal 2 over 5. Alternately, we can plug it in our calculator and get our same value of 0.4. So square root 40 divided by 250. We'll get our 0.4. Okay, turning the page. All right, in this problem, we've got a value D, and it's a value in mils, we have feet, and we've got the rest of our equation. To simplify this, if I write this over 1 and I cross multiply, I can get D squared times 0.25 equals the 10.8 times 240 times 1, and then I can divide by 0.25. From here, I can say D squared equals 10.8, 240, 1, 0.25, and I can square root both sides to get my value for D. On the calculator, that sums up to the square root of 10.8 times 240 times 1 divided by 0.25. And I get a value of 101.8233765. They want us to round the nearest tenth, so this is our value, 101.8. Number 5, we want to solve the equation for r. So in this value, we don't have values that we're plugging in, but we want to solve for this little r. So I'm going to write my equation. I'm going to put parentheses around my terms, and I'm going to cross multiply to get my result out of a fraction. So I've got capital I times big R plus little r equals e times 1. I can divide by capital I, and I get big R plus little r equals e over I, and I can subtract big R because I'm trying to solve for little r. So little r equals e over I minus r, and we'll find the option that picks that, which is e over I minus r. Similar problem, we're going to try and solve for EC. So if I write this over 1 and I cross multiply, I get I times r equals 1 times EX minus EC. Because it's just 1, I can drop the parentheses and the 1 on there. I get I times R equals EX minus EC. If I subtract EX from both sides, I get negative EC equals I R minus EX, and I'll divide everything by negative 1. So I get EC equals negative I R over 1 negative IR plus EX, and I could reorder that so it's EX minus I R equals EC. EX minus IR equals EC. There's our winner. Okay, problem number 7. We have values we want to solve for R1. We're going to plug in our other pieces. So we know that R is 70 equals R1, which we don't know, plus R2 times R3. So 20 times 30 over R2 plus R3, so 20 plus 30. We can simplify this, so we get 70 equals R1 plus 600 over 50. We can reduce that to 60 over 50, and if we divide 60 by 5, we get 12. So we have 70 equals R1 plus 12. Subtract 12, and R1 equals 58 in ohms. Okay, we need to write an equation for Pavel. So he's paid time and a half for each hour he works over 40 hours a week. 1 week he worked 12 hours of overtime, and he made this total. So we can say that the total that he made, $962.80. Well, he got his wage times his 40 hours, and then plus 12 hours times his wage times time and a half, or 1.5. And then we can solve for W. So we get 962.80 equals 40W. And if we take 12 times 1.5, that gets us to 18W. We can combine the W's and get 58W equals 962.80. Divide by 58. And his wage equals 962.80 divided by 58. And we get 1660. Okay, number 9. We're looking for an inequality to fake the fact that it'll take no more than, which means it could be exactly equal to the 175, but we couldn't be larger. So we want the value equal to or less than that. Okay, I'll turn the page. And our last problem. Okay, so we've got Julio. He needs a transducer for his supplies. His supplies cost $8,500. Okay. He's paying down, so that's the total cost. He's paying down $1,245. And then he's going to also pay $420.50 for each month until it's fully repaid. And so this value is going to be greater than or equal to 0. Once it's 0, then he has it paid off. If we combine these, we can combine these two numbers, and that gives us 8500 minus 1245. So we get 7255 minus 420.50. We're going to subtract 7255. So now we have negative 4. Let's get ourselves a little more space here. Negative 420.50 months greater than or equal to negative 7255. We're going to divide by negative 420.50. And when we do this, our inequality sign will flip directions, so m is greater than or equal to this number divided by 420.50, and so we get 17.25326 months. So he's going to take 17.25 months to pay it off exactly. Normally you don't go by the quarter month, so 18 is going to be our value if you counted whole months.